Hey, so happy to have you here at our Mile High Church podcast. Are you feeling some awe today? Well, we are, and we're having the wonderful expert on awe, Mr. Dacher Keltner, with us in one of our renowned speaker events on Friday, November 1st. He knows about it. He studied it. He's a scientist. It's going to be great. Early bird tickets are on sale for in-person sales right now through July 7th. Go to milehighchurch.org to get your ticket. Love to have you with us.
So good morning again, and happy Father's Day again as well. Let me get my quotes together here. I do have notes. I don't usually use them, but they are important. Anyone doing anything fun today? Bud Wilkinson, one of the most celebrated college football coaches of all time, Oklahoma Sooners. Any Boomer Sooners here? Okay, in the back there, Boomer Sooner. His son, Jay, several years ago, published a book of letters that his dad had written him. And I'm going to be reading portions of a letter that Bud wrote to Jay in September 1960. And my spiritual hope is that you might hear a little bit of a fatherly voice speaking to you as well. Jay had wanted to play for his dad in Oklahoma, but things wound up that he wound up at Duke University instead. And he really was struggling there. And Bud knew that and shared the following with his son. When any person leaves a pleasant situation to enter the unknown, there is always the realization of how nice, good, and comfortable things were before. Yet only by facing the future and accepting new and progressively more difficult challenges are we able to grow, develop, and avoid stagnation. You have more total all-around ability in all fields than anyone I have ever known. You will certainly be a great man and make a great contribution to the world. But to do this, you must take on new and progressively more difficult challenges. And Wilkinson speaks beautifully to me of this concept of what we call spiritual growth, which is about increasing our spiritual awareness, but it's also about our commitment to our own thriving. Parker Palmer once said, the thing about wholeness is once you realize you're whole, you have to live your whole life. And that does not mean a life of comfort and ease as much as we may enjoy comfort and ease. It means stepping into the unknown. It means struggling sometimes. It means hard looks in the mirror. That commitment to our own thriving is a byproduct of spiritual growth. How many of us remember having training wheels on our bicycles when we were kids? And wouldn't that be great if we just kept those wheels on our whole lives? No. There are greater challenges that call us. There is a greater desire to be free, to go as fast as possible, to have fun. How many of us remember when those training wheels were taken off? I remember riding free on my bike. I was doing just great. It was a great ET bike, and then the handlebars fell off. Tumble I go. But you get back on. Rilke referred to the idea that life is about being defeated by grander and grander things. And the rites of passage of our lives teach us this. The walls of the crib come down. The high chair gets handed down. The car seat goes away. We get to walk to the convenience store for the first time by ourselves. Over and over, life is calling us into these new and profound experiences. But I wonder, just like there are actual physical training wheels, if there aren't training wheel ideas. Psychological training wheels that are given to us to help us find our way. And when we honor those training wheels and we let them go, we move on to living in greater freedom. But a lot of us, because these training wheels are invisible, we try to hold on to them. We keep them in our lives, and they cause us to stagnate. Training wheels kept too long aren't wheels, they're locks that keep us from greater ways of understanding and being the best who we are in our lives. Again, they can be really innocent. I'm going to find someone to complete me. What a sweet idea until you learn that no one can complete you and that the best relationships are those where we celebrate our wholeness together. I can do anything I set my mind to. A wonderful idea. And yet as we live the spiritual lives, we realize that sometimes there's a bigger mind than just our own that has ideas for our life. I'm going to embrace full freedom of absolute independence and doing just what I want to do until you realize that freedom has a lot more to do with commitment and responsibility than you thought. Life is very complex, and training wheels help us find our way, but they will never help you be on your way, on your true path and your true way of being. And so I want to explore a few of the training wheels that are common for children that some of us never grow out of, and invite each of you to think about training wheels that may be holding you back from your greater becoming as well. One training wheel that was helpful for me, I'll state it in a few different ways. Some people call it hell. Some people may call it the idea of a judgmental God, or just that this life is a struggle between powers of good and powers of evil. When I was young, this mythology actually helped me a little bit, because I learned that there's good choices and not so good choices to make, and I got really good at making those good choices in front of my parents and in front of elders. But when no one was watching, I got to think to myself, well, what do I really want to do in this situation? And it was kind of helpful to consider that there was a presence that was watching me, that was seeing if I was doing good or not so good. Not to send me to an eternal lake of flames, but to watch me. And it was a great mythology for something I couldn't understand at the time that we today tend to call karma, or the law of cause and effect. To learn that every choice I make, whether or not someone is watching, is received by a creative medium, that I co-create with this creative medium, and it demonstrates in my life. So it was a good idea when I was younger, but I held on to those wheels too long. A belief in judgment, a belief in an afterlife that could harm me, and that caused me to have shame about my body. It caused me to be less authentic and transparent, not wanting to share mistakes or sins that I've made out of fear of rejecting. It caused me so many times, because of mistakes that I made, to reject myself, to keep myself out of heaven or love. It caused me to be watching all these things about battles between good and evil and to start labeling people that way. It's this training wheel of hell and of bad that is right at the heart of what I've been calling this year the politics of other. This politics of other that we see in our country and in many places around the world, where it's been our national pastime since our founding to demonize politicians. We'll probably always do that, but we've got to this point where we now demonize the people who vote for those politicians. You notice that? And so we get this politics of other, where we're always classifying ourselves as the good, and these people over here and these people over here as bad. And we lose what we're needing the training wheel for, to learn that we're all one, to learn that we're all integrated, to learn that we live on one planet. I was smitten a couple of weeks ago to hear the story of Ed Dwight. Ed Dwight in the 1960s was almost an astronaut. He was an astronaut, he just didn't get to go into outer space. And when that didn't quite happen, he became a world-renowned sculptor and artist. He's located right here in Denver, Colorado. And a couple of weeks ago, he got to be on one of these Blue Origin Amazon space trips. He got to be the oldest person ever in space, beating out the great William Shatner, who got to do it a couple of years ago. And I'm always interested in hearing what people have to say when they return and get back down to earth. And Dwight was in an interview, and I love something that he said. He said, "You look at the United States of America, All these states where half of them are red and the other part are blue. From space, there's no dividing line there. It's all just one mass of Earth. And so why in the world do we have two groups of people that can't get along with each other? It makes no sense. He goes on, I wish that every single person that was elected to national office was required to take 3 orbits around this Earth. And you'll see that there's no dividing things between these countries. There's no dividing line between Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan. This whole thing is integrated together. And if we don't do something to protect this thing, we can easily destroy it. I don't know about you, but there was that little box to check at the end of the taxes to send $1 for that program. I would do it. Also, you could build a little station and leave some people up there every once in a while. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, if you want to stay out of hell, no one can ever be in it. If you want to stay out of hell, no one can ever be in it. It sounds like a cute little saying, but when you go deeper into it, it's very profound. It's very profound to me because it conveys to me that you can only enter into heaven when you have totally eliminated a consciousness of hell. No judgment, no blame, no resentment. Then and only then can you enter into the kingdom of heaven, be it a place or a consciousness that we embody. It's not until we let this training wheel of other, of hell, of evil go, as much bad as we see in the world, that we can truly stand in the good and live as presences for unity in our lives. Wilkinson goes on, sharing with his son, you will grow and develop in direct relationship to the way you meet and overcome what at first seem to be hard assignments. You will learn to love Duke, to take great pride in the school and their football team. You're that kind of person. By developing as a student and an athlete, you will prepare yourself to do bigger and better things when you graduate. Always remember that I believe in you no matter what. You must do what seems right to you. Don't be swayed by what other people think. My grandmother, a great lady, one of the finest I've ever known, always told me when I was a young boy growing up to dare to be a Daniel. Dare to stand alone. It is the best advice one can have for happy, successful living. You can know you have a training wheel idea when you haven't thought about it yourself. There's no such thing as a training wheel idea that isn't passed on to us or given to us in some form. It's when you're thinking for yourself that you're set free, that you're on those 2 wheels, when you're on the right road. Another training wheel that we inherit as children that stagnates us if we don't get rid of them, don't talk to strangers. Don't talk to strangers. How many people still abide by that now? Stranger danger. Stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers. Very important when you're a young child to learn over time that there are some people who are not looking out for your best interests, that there are some people who have issues of their own that you need to avoid. Very, very important. But as we get older, what we have to learn is discernment, that trust should never be automatic, that it's something we cultivate and build, and yet the willingness to trust is one of the most important points of human connection. So do talk to strangers. In a world today where there are infinite numbers of points of view, I just wish that we were a little bit more focused on understanding, on building our understanding so that our point of view can expand and include a little bit more. And talking to so-called strangers or the other is such an essential part of how to get there. To understand why someone decided to immigrate to America. To understand why someone loves the person that they do. To understand how it is that someone could root for the Dallas Cowboys. With some curiosity and some good questions, we can grow in our understanding, and we can make some of the best connections of our lives. Some of my best friends are strangers. I love the story of Allie Cole and Ruby Wierzbicki, who were two young college students touring a university on a bus, and they decided to build up enough courage to talk to one another. I often think of something that Emerson said. He said, there is more kindness in us than we will ever know. And there's something when we start a conversation or we open up to listening to someone we haven't met yet that can reveal the depths of that kindness and can make us better people because of it, and sometimes give us the deepest answers we're looking for in our lives. So Allie and Ruby got to talking, and they learned that they had a lot in common. They were both of Chinese origin. They had both been adopted by American parents. And because of their age, they both knew that almost certainly that they were victims of China's one-child policy. That either A, they were given up for adoption because they were a second child, or B, they were the first child and not wanted. And what an immense amount of challenge to go through life in your own consciousness, not knowing for sure if your birth parents really wanted you. So they began to share a little bit more of their stories, and one of the girls got brave as well and decided to pull up some pictures of the orphanage that she had grown up in. The other girl paused. Look, there I am, right there in the back of your picture. The girls would share that for them, this was 100% God. Strangers are the illusion. That we're isolated is the illusion. And when we're open with, yes, discernment and skepticism, but also willing to show a greater amount of kindness and understanding, we can make the best connections in our lives. And it's often our conversations with strangers that let us know where we're on our path and where it is that we are going. I love something that Thich Nhat Hanh once said. He said, only your compassion and your loving kindness are invincible and without limit. When we can use that kindness and use that compassion, we're off with that training wheel of other, and we're living the lives that we are meant to live. Can you identify for yourself a training wheel that you might be working on releasing? Many of us are carrying around training wheels that maybe helped us then, but they're damaging to us now. The purpose of life is to get married and live happily ever after. That's not a great training wheel when your marriage sucks, right? Or it ends in divorce. There are so many different examples of things that we think we need to do to please or win the acceptance of others, of what our role is supposed to be in society, and then it doesn't work out, where we hold ourselves hostage with these training wheels and we feel stuck. And I'm willing to bet, I'm a betting minister, that if you go to that place where you may be experiencing struggle right now, where there may be a problem or challenge, I'm going to bet that the bigger problem than the problem or the challenge is the idea that you have about the problem or the challenge. If you find yourself in an area of your life hitting your head against a wall over and over, it's a training wheel idea that it's time to say thank you for how you served me up to now, but I'm ready to let you go. Can you say that with me? Training wheel, I'm ready to let you go. All of us have what I would call our role of empowerment and our role of dysfunction. And the training wheel ideas, these old ideas that we carry with us, are essential to how this plays out. You know you're in your role of empowerment when you're living in trust, when you feel a creative spirit, when you trust yourself each day to bring the best in all life around you and those that you work with to come together and become their best as well. That, at least for me, is when I'm in my role of empowerment. You can know that you're in your role dysfunction when you're leading from a place of fear instead of love, when you're leading from a place of control instead of trust, when you're leading from a place of manipulation instead of honesty, when you're leading from a place of passive-aggressive victimhood instead of responsible assertiveness. You can know that you've given your power over to an idea that is limiting you and serving you no longer. Yes, life can be hard. Yes, there are challenges around us all the time, but until we are willing to look at the thoughts that we are contributing to these, we can only find where we're being locked, where we're holding ourselves back. As our founder, Ernest Holmes, once said, if you believe you are locked in a room and believe it so firmly that you do not even try the doors and windows, the results are exactly the same as though you were. Though the actual truth may be that there is no lock and that you are free to go as you please. Set yourself free by catching those training wheels when they come up, and continue as often as you need to let them go. I remember an experience of the day that I knew I was going to propose to my wife. It was a day I let go of some training wheels. And the training wheel I was operating in, we had been together for 4 years, is that a good relationship is harmonious. That a relationship is about being with this perfect person who's totally committed to making you happy. And as many of us learn in relationships, they're not always about that. And at this particular time, I don't even remember what we were struggling with, but there was some fighting and some arguing. And I was at the church I was working for at the time, and we had a wonderful board president, Yvonne Woods, and she says, Josh, how's your relationship going? And I gave a dramatic sigh. Well, it's going okay, but it sure is hard work sometimes. And Yvonne, she looked me right in the eye. She said, Josh, I've been married for over 50 years and it's still hard work sometimes. And boom, off went those training wheels. Even though I was in my mid-30s, there was that strong realization at that time that hard work is not a sign to exit your relationship. That hard work isn't a sign that your relationship isn't working. It's a sign that it is. And so what are you going to do about it? Are you going to do the hard work? Are you going to do the hard work? And I knew that day I would propose to my wife, and thanks for staying married to me so long, April. One more training wheel to rid ourselves of that we grow up with as children that's kind of important is that work and play are different things. The training wheel that work and play are different things. We need this as a children. Eat your peas and then you can have dessert. Do your homework and then you can play outside. Sit with Aunt Helen for an hour and then you can play video games. Good training wheel gets us into balance. But when we carry that into our lives, we wind up living as superficial work folks during the week and escape artists on the weekend. We don't live a coherent life when we make work and play separate things. To truly embody the co-creative spirit of co-creating our life with an infinite mind all around us is to realize that we can engage in our work with an immense spirit of play and creativity, and that we can get the absolute best work done when we're at play and having fun. That's the richness of life. And when we can find great wisdom in the mundane and have a sense of playfulness and release, even when we're engaged in our hardest of work. We lost another great musician this year, the great Richard Sherman of the Sherman Brothers, Richard and Robert. They were Disney's music men, great contributors to the Great American Songbook, and definitely earworm writers of songs that get stuck in your head, perhaps even in an annoying way, such as It's a Small World After All, Chim Chim Cheree, The Bare Necessities, and so on. And I love a story that Robert, who died several years ago, his son Jeffrey tells about his dad. And the brothers, working for Disney, wanting to please him, were working on the film Mary Poppins. And their music kept getting rejected. Here's going to be one of the biggest movies of all time. They already know it. They're in charge of the music, and they can't quite get there. And they're really struggling, so much so that Jeffrey shares that he came home from school one day to find his father, Robert, absolutely in pitch dark blackness, all the blinds were drawn, and yet Robert loved his son so much that he lit up and he said, "How was your day?" He said, "My day was just fine. I got the polio vaccine today." And Jeffrey was terrified of shots, so he said, "Are you okay? Did you get a shot?" No. They just put a cube of sugar with the medicine right there in the spoon, and it went right down." Robert's eyes lit up. He grabbed the phone. "Dick, get over here, quick." And they wrote, what's the song? Okay, we don't have to sing the whole thing. There it is. And Jeffrey would say of his father, "I think that the love of his family and each of us kids inspired different things all the time for him. It was kind of like that was his yarn, and he could make it into the most beautiful Afghan. He could take something mundane like that and see the magic in it." And I love that idea of the yarn, to see your creative spirit, your co-creative relationship with God in every aspect of your life, to make doing the dishes a meditation, to make going to work, going to recess, to make going to recess that place where you get your best ideas. There was a great book that came out several years ago called How to Get Ideas by Jack Foster, and I love what he shares. He says, "Richard Drew has a bad idea that turned out to be Scotch tape. Joseph Priestley invented carbonated water while he was investigating the chemistry of air. Alexander Graham Bell was trying to invent a hearing aid when he invented the telephone. Vulcanized rubber was discovered by accident by Charles Goodyear. So was anti-knock gasoline by Charles Kettering. So was electric current by Luigi Galvani. So were potato chips by George Crumb. So was America by Christopher Columbus. The moral, never cry over spilled milk. Find a use for it or invent a better milk carton." When we're able to identify our training wheels, when we're caught or confused or stuck, or when we're riding free and looking back, we can say thank you to them and keep moving forward. But one of the most important things is that we own our own thoughts. We own our own feelings. We own our own possibility. And when we bring that sense of motivation into our work and into our play, we begin to weave that yarn in a way that creates a brilliant and beautiful mosaic for our lives. To close with the end of Bud's letter to his son Jay. After analyzing and evaluating the circumstances, always do what seems best to you in light of your own good judgment. Only in this way can you find peace of mind, because you cannot be happy doing what other people think you should do. You must do what you think you should do. I love you, Jay, more than anything in life. Don't worry about things. Live each day by doing your best. We'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Love always, Dad. And perhaps as we move into prayer, becoming aware of the fatherly presences in our life, physical or spiritual. Perhaps we might hear them say to us right now, I love you more than anything in life. Don't worry about things. Live each day by doing your best. We'll look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Love always, Dad. So inviting any of our practitioner prayer partners to stand and hold consciousness in this prayer and know these incredible beings are available for an affirmative prayer in front of the stage after service. Let us open our minds and our heart to that divine life that is with us now and is also encouraging us to step even more deeply into what it is. Giving thanks for the ideas that brought us up to this point, may we now give great thanksgiving for the ideas of now and tomorrow that help us step into greater healing, into greater wonder, into greater play, into greater creative work, into greater forgiveness, into greater releasing, into greater self-acceptance, into our greater becoming. Giving thanks for this divine mind and all of its emanations, for all of those spirits that are rooting us on in our lives with great pride, holding us within a sacred vision that sees us as beautiful, as wonderful, as magnificent, just the way we are, and yet holds us as well to embodying that divine spirit that knows that we are whole and it's time to live fully, just like that is so. We let it be, we let it become. And so it is. Amen. Thanks for listening to the Mile High Church podcast. This podcast is made possible by the generous contributions from listeners like you. To make a donation, please visit milehighchurch.org.